Bonsoir, good evening. I'm really glad to be here, finally, because many people in this room have worked on this film, and some of them have seen the movie but without subtitles, so then they're going to understand what it's all about tonight, so I'm really glad. I asked Hofesh if he wanted to talk with me before the movie, but you know dancers, when it's about talking, they prefer to use another language. So we'll talk afterwards. We'll be here. We can talk afterwards, and I'm not going to say much about the film. Marion Barbeau was supposed to come with me today, beside Robinson, of course. But she's nominated for the French Awards, and they're doing like a movie today, so she was... So I'll be there, and I'm really glad for all the dancers in this room. It was such a pleasure to work. I don't know where you are, Hofesh. Okay, yeah. But it was really a pleasure to work on this movie and to combine your art with cinema and. And I love you too. We talked earlier with a journalist, and he said he was jealous about me, and I said I was jealous about him. So it's really about two jealousies that met together. Okay, have a good evening.
Gentlemen, congratulations. It's such a film about a young woman that there's four blokes sitting up here talking about this. Feels a bit wrong, but she would have been here.
She was supposed to be here, yes. And unfortunately, she was selected among the French awards, for upcoming actress. And she had to do a film about that today, so she couldn't come. So,
but this is her. She's a dancer. I heard that this is her first performance as an actress, and it's a great performance. It's got nominated for the breakthrough.
She's already too busy for us. Yeah. So quick, but you can see why.
Did you know her as a dancer, Hofesh?
I knew her as a dancer. Yeah, I worked with her when I went to work with the Paris Opera Ballet. Which is actually the first time that Cédric and myself met. And I selected her for the work. She's amazing.
Mm.
Yeah.
Great eye for a performer as well as a dancer.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, we spoke about it today, but I think a really good dancer, has a bit of an actor in them. They have to learn how to embody characters, and she's doing it very well. And yeah, she knew how to use these skills, transferable skills.
Mm.
So, yeah.
Well, and classic and modern dance as well. So there's even more transferable skills. Yeah. Robinson, congratulations.
Thank you.
Is this your first movie as well?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're a member of Hofesh's company?
Yeah, exactly. Hofesh's soldier. Yeah.
Oh, vas-y. We're having fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like war out there.
Well, it goes to war for you. Is it different when you're doing something for the camera than when you're performing for him and rehearsing for him normally?
Yeah. I mean, it's totally different. In a way, it's less tiring physically, I would say. It was a big thing that I noticed. It's funny because being in front of the camera, it's stressful, but at the same time, you feel confident. There is not it's less of a judgment. You know that it's going to be there forever, but it's not. I cannot see people in the eyes and be like, if you know what I mean, if they look at you like this, it's worse than if it's just a camera. Yeah.
And how did you feel? Was this the first time you saw it?
No, I see it a few times.
Oh, yeah, you've been sneaking
I'm
into.
I'm
every
fan of myself. Yeah.
Yeah, you're
definitely.
good now. Yeah, I look good. You do look good. Yeah, very good.
Thank you.
Cédric, what is great is to see this beautiful dance company and the Ballet de l'Opéra. Beautiful. To see them, to see the whole dance. I'm so pleased that you didn't do quick cutting and there's so many modern films they don't show the whole the whole dance. We got to see the entire body from the head to the feet, and it's a beautiful thing. What were your sort of inspirations as a director of dance? Is this your first dance movie?
I have shot dance shows, but never, and I've done a documentary or several documentaries about dance. So I knew how to film performances, but it's the first time I did a fiction movie with that, and it was a big challenge because it was complicated to mix a story with what they were doing. And I remember, because I came to London to see your casting a long time ago, like 3 years ago.
Yeah, 2-3 years ago.
Yeah. And someone was doing a documentary about me, and I remember the shot he had made about me, wondering what kind of a story I can tell with these guys, because I really wanted to work with Hofesh and work with his company. I really loved his dancers, and it was complicated to find the story, and so it was a long process to choose Hofesh and then choose Marion, and then I say, okay, she's going to be the hero in the movie, and she's going to dance ballet and contemporary dance, and try to invent a story that hold everything together, and that this injury was the idea to make everything come together in a sense.
But in a sense, it's difficult because you had to work with two huge dance companies. You didn't just do Hofesh, you had to work with the opera, the ballet at the opera as well. So you had to use two, everything through all of your skills.
COVID was a horrible thing, but we have COVID to thank for that, because the dance companies were just paralyzed in these periods. We couldn't tour. The only thing we do is tour and perform in front of big groups of people, and I think that's what made... I think it's right to say it's what made the film happen. We all had time and space to do it, and it's a lot of dancers in one place.
It's crazy how this movie would not be possible without COVID. That's really, when we think about it now, because the theaters were closed, so like the Châtelet and the 104 and La Villette, they were empty, and everyone was, if you want to do something, like, please welcome. We're not doing anything, and Hofesh was available, and his company was available, and also not only that, but when we did the dance shows, ballet and contemporary, they hadn't danced in front of an audience for 6 months maybe, and it was so intense. I don't know if you felt that, but
it was amazing to come back and to feel the audience. It was kind of weird because in fact we were stopped. Then we started again. When we started during the movie, it was in Brittany, so it was like just between us with the team. So it was kind of a meeting, and then boom, kind of I think we really had like a show feeling at the end, having the audience being on the stage with the La Villette, huge stage, music live was quite intense.
There were some wonderful locations in Paris that I'm not a dance sort of expert, so I knew the opera, but the one, did you call it the 104? The 104? That's the big sort of, I don't know, was it a factory where everyone was dancing? There's the hip hop. That's where they first go and she meets Mehdi. Where's that place?
It's really what happens on a Sunday morning or Sunday, the whole Sunday, where people practice, and you have hip hop and yoga classes and Tai Chi classes, and everyone mixes, and you have African dance, and it's really like a supermarket where you have all the types of dances. So you go there, or?
I used to, and you have it's amazing place because it used to be that many hip hop dancers were training a bit in the streets in some places in La Défense, in Châtelet-Les-Halles, or the places in Paris, and Paris, the city decided to open like a space where you actually got studios there as well, where they offered residency and stuff, and you have this big open space where you're actually free to do whatever you want. So
where is it?
It's in the 19th, I think.
Good. I shall be there with my tutu on or something.
No tutu. We just spoke about it, dude. Jesus, you were not concentrating.
No, but I think I could pull it off. I think I could
you
bring it back in. It'll not be ringard anymore. I did love the shots of the ballerina on the roof having a cigarette and then coming down the fire escape in her tutu. I thought it was a beautiful sort of contrast of the classic and the modern, and that really summed it up. I also love the scene. Do you love the scene where they're running together? They run towards each other and then suddenly they're in their arms. I mean, I think it's a classic romantic moment that you've created of cinema, Cédric.
Well, we talk about that with Hofesh because it's the only music that was composed for the movie, and he worked with Thomas Bangalter, you know, one of the Daft Punk, and they worked together in Paris. But you can tell. But
no, it was great. It was great working on it, and I think it was the most because it was my experience. The strongest experience of really making music for film, where the film director is breathing down your neck on every millimeter of what's happening on the screen. Here we need that, maybe a bit more that kind of sound or this. And it was intense, but I loved it, And we worked remotely because of COVID as well. I was in Stuttgart, you were in Paris. And we took a whole day, and it was like, oh, I really want more of a shout there. So I told him, okay, give me 5 minutes. We turn off the Zoom. I would record some stuff, and come back to it. So it was really fun. But yeah, the original track, that was the end bit where Cédric was breathing down my neck. The beginning was with Thomas, which was really, really, really nice. But it just reminds me that me and Thomas were trying a few tracks for this moment. You have the film and you make the music kind of working towards it. And we had a few ideas, and we thought we should go for this idea, the percussion, and it's kind of tribal, and it feels like they're dancing and blah, blah. And Cédric came to listen to it. And Cédric was not completely decided. He was like, and Thomas went into this. Then I saw the real talent of Thomas Bangalter. He went into this big speech about why this is the right thing. And Cédric just went, okay, and left the room. And Thomas just looked at me and he said, you may have not recognized it at the moment, but that was a close call. We almost didn't get that. But yeah, we had to work so hard on this track, and I'm happy we did. Yeah.
Are Daft Punk still together?
No, they broke up.
Yeah.
But they're talking to each other. It's it's healthy breakup. Yeah.
Okay, no, I didn't know how this when I saw that he was working with you on the score. You compose all of your the work.
I compose most of the music for my dance pieces. I normally, if I work with other composers, I make sure that they are dead. So like Johann Sebastian Bach, So then you don't get into conversations. It's like, that's what we're doing, dude. Like, and they are probably underground, But yeah, I work on most of the music for my pieces, which is, a pleasure and a curse.
And the piece that we see here, were these the rehearsals for that piece, or it was a piece that was already existing?
The piece that you see in the end is a part of Political Mother, which is a work that, we were thinking, are we going to build something new for the film or not? And it just felt like that's the right it's the right thing, and it's already there. And it's right for the story and for her character to experience and so on. So it was restaging something that existed from 2010, 11, help, I don't know. But 10 years ago, yeah, it's an old piece. But yeah, it just felt like it would be really right for the film. And yeah.
I went to see Hofesh do rehearsals of 5-6 years ago here in London, and I was doing a Q&A with him about the dance, which I'm not an expert in at all, but I was privileged to see him rehearse with his troupe. And I have to say that it's very much exactly what you do here on screen. You didn't ask him to change or be a different character to what he is. The dancing is all about the feeling and the emotion. It's not 1, 2, 3 sideways. It's you feel the air, you move. It's a very performed piece, and I was really pleased to see that it was that's the Hofesh Shechter on here that we get to see.
Yeah, I think it's just very. I think Cédric really loves dance, if I may say, and I think you told me I wanted to have a bit of a documentary feel, you know, to just document these moments in the studio. So everything that happens in the studio, none of it is really scripted. I mean, we are supposed to be in the studio, but we were just really rehearsing. And I think it's a real beautiful window for people that perhaps don't know what's going on behind closed doors in studios into our creative process. Yeah, it's what it is.
And I remember saying to you then, oh, you know, your dances are so cinematic that they refer to zombie movies and all of this movement. That you should do a movie, and you have now done one. So I need a producer credit on that. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. Cédric, dance movies. You said you shot some documentaries and you love dance movies. What was do you have reference for some? It feels like your references were more sort of classic dance movies for this one.
Yes, because there are almost no good films about dance. So we talked about that earlier, and I think that the good ones are musical comedies from the 40s, 50s, and recently, when American people make musical comedies, very often there's no dance. You know, like La La Land, there's no dance, or it's very poor for me. No, it's true.
I could agree. I completely agree, but I saw only the first 10 minutes, and I couldn't.
Those are the best bits.
Yeah, maybe I should have waited, but I couldn't.
No, but it's really more about music, and it's the same with Baz Luhrmann, for example. Or when you look at dance, it's really when you look at Gene Kelly, Fred Astaire, and then they shoot, you know, like for example in Singing in the Rain. The scene that we all know about Gene Kelly dancing in the rain is 4 shots. So it's des plans séquences, I don't know how you say that.
Traveling shots.
Traveling shots. And almost every shots are full body, and it's moving camera following the dancer. And for me, it's the good way to show dance. So, you know, every time there was dance, like I don't shoot the hip hop in the same way I shoot the ballet, and it's not the same I shoot the last performance, you know, in Political Mother at the end of the movie. So every time there's a way of dancing, there's a way of shooting. So it's a lot of questioning about how to shoot, what kind of do I use a camera in motion, or do I use a still camera, or do I use the editing a lot, or do I don't use the editing? So it's a lot of questions about movie making and in relationship to how people behave and dance. Yeah.
Is that the best dance scene in the history of cinema, Singing in the Rain?
No, it's not the best, but since then, you know, like West Side Story, for example, for me is a good example. But since that period, you don't really have great examples of movies where dances are interesting. Like Black Swan, for example, is supposed to be a film about dance, and there's not much dance in the movie.
Well, it's beautiful to watch all of the dancing in this one. I loved it. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for you to ask the questions through the medium of interpretive dance or otherwise. Put your hands up. We do have I think we have some microphones around. Any questions for Cédric or for Hofesh or for Robinson?
Yes, good evening. We really enjoyed the film. I have a question for Hofesh. But I never watched your company before, and some remind me of Pina Bausch, and I was wondering if you had been somehow influenced
Pina
Bausch.
Bausch? No,
Such
I'm
a
joking.
good actor.
I'm joking. I love Pina Bausch. I would say, I mean, I'm influenced by everything I've ever seen that moved me and affected me. And for sure, Pina Bausch is one of these people that really affected me. I think one of the amazing things about Pina was with very simple imagery, making you think and feel so much. That's what I thought was her power, to create a situation where you can see so much more than what you actually see, you know, in the back of your head and in your imagination. and I would say she's a big influence together with a lot of other creators, choreographers, and filmmakers as well, which always influenced my work. Not the least, I've seen L'Auberge Espagnole very early on, and that idea of, a narrator and that honesty that a narrator can give to a film is something that I stole and used also in dance and so on. But there is a bit of Pina in me, yeah.
There's a wonderful Pina documentary by Wim Wenders. Did a beautiful documentary, sort of 3D with Pina Bausch.
Yeah.
One of the best 3D movies I've ever seen. Any more questions for? Yes, there's a lady down here.
Thank you. Hi, thank you so much for that film. I have a question for Cédric. Is there a film or films that's inspired you to make films, or like that's made you want to make film, or that's inspiring you for the films you make and want to make? Yeah.
Directors or films?
Sorry, what?
Like what films influence me? That's what you asked, or?
Yeah, a film that's like inspired you, or like a lesson of cinema that's like that you've kept in you for the films that you make.
Like Hofesh, many directors, many movies influenced me. So it's hard to answer because, like I've always said, that Fellini is probably the director that influenced me the most, even though my movies don't look like Fellini movies. But for me, it's like the ideal director. And yesterday, I had a conference about Les Nuits de Cabiria, Cabrera's Night, I guess, in English. And I really like that period from Fellini, like the early movies. It's the movie he made just after La Strada and before La Dolce Vita. So for me, it's really like the most...
Why?
Because it combines everything, like acting, emotion, and how pictures... It's exactly what he said about Pina Bausch, how simple pictures get into deep emotions, something like that. And so beside that, for example, Altman is a very important director for me because he's really the one who invented the movies with many actors, and I really like groups of people. In this movie, for example, one of the theme which is really in the background is how someone who's a soloist and she's a dancer, like a soloist dancer, how she learns how to be part of a company. And she's like the head of the company, but she's not part of the company at the beginning. And so, for example, these kind of things, Altman is really a great director to show that a group of people, there's no hierarchy between people, So for me, it's really close to what contemporary dance is talking about. Otherwise, I was talking about La Cinéthèque. There's a French site called lacinéthèque.com, and it's a site where directors put the 50 films that they prefer. So you can go on that site and see the 50 films I mentioned.
Your top 50 films are on there.
Right,
The
yeah.
Cinéthèque.
Yeah. So you can't, it's a VOD site, so you can't rent the movies from England, but you can watch the site, and it's a really interesting site about there are about 120 directors who put their favorite movies. So.
What's your top one?
Maybe Nights of Cabiria is really one important one. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest is another one. I think that movies that are... I think that, because I understand that well more and more, I like when a movie can make you cry and laugh, and there's no frontier between the two things. And it's really rare. And I think that Forman did that well. Italian directors like Fellini did that well. Because usually you see dramatic movies or comedies, and you don't see movies that can do both. Yeah.
I like them too. There was a lady in the middle with a scarf.
Hi, thanks. Hi, another benefit of the COVID lockdown were the number of filmed performances that were made available, pulled from the archives, including some of your own. Are you finding that there's appetite to film more of the performances for posterity? Will we see more artists filming these pieces and greater access to them going forward?
I don't know, it's a tricky question because obviously there was this necessity in order to share dance and live performance to do these live streamings and the films. I have to say, so we realized that there is a long way we have to do in translating the power of dance into film. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. Personally, in the end of COVID, if someone would offer me to sit for 2 hours in front of a screen and watch dance, I rather, I don't know, we've seen so much of it, and I think it's something that has to live together with live performance. You know, you should see some live performance, and then because something of the essence of dance and performance was taken away from us, which is sitting together and that chemical reaction that you have being in a space together with hundreds of people, seeing something, and that ceremony. It's very hard for a film to reproduce unless you watch it maybe together. That's sort of. But certainly there was a feeling that there is a long way to go to learn how to bring dance to the screen in a way that is powerful. There were some really great things and there were some horrifying things, so it was very experimental. It's how it is.
Where can we see you, Hofesh, at the moment? Where can we see some
right
Hofesh?
Here, yes. I'm sitting here.
And then they'll be captured. Your dance company.
So we made a film. So Political Mother had many evolutions, and one of it was that a junior company of ours was performing it, dancers between sort of 20 and 25. And because of COVID, they couldn't tour it, and we made a film from it in kind of like in the Battersea Art Center. And it's kind of doing the rounds in festivals around the world, so it's not really available. It's like you have to be in a city somewhere and catch it. You can look online. And then there was a film that we did with the BBC, that's many years ago, of clowns, of one of my works, and that's also unavailable. So nowhere. We keep you wanting to see it, but you will never see it. They're great, I can tell you that.
And your next live shows?
The next live, so the company, both companies are performing now. We have our main company that is touring around, Canada, Europe. COVID is sort of over. I mean, I know it's not over, but we are touring very freely. And we have also the junior company that is touring around, and it's hofesh.co.uk. Check my website.
Check the website.
Like he said.
And Rob, where can we see you, Robinson? Where are you next performing?
In 2 days in Stockholm, Sweden.
All right.
Just
well,
around
we're
the
all
corner.
Invited. Right. In one of Hofesh's.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So you're going to go quickly?
Yeah, tomorrow morning. Yeah.
Okay. Fantastic.
You're in the old company.
Yeah. Now I started with juniors, and now I made it through the old group, the old people group.
And are some of the people that we saw in the in the film?
It's a bit of a mix in the movie. There is we're not that much in the main company. There is a mix of people from the main company and juniors that were there at that time.
Fabulous. Well, I'd love to go to Stockholm. Thank you very much. And Cédric, what's next for you? Where do we?
I've done a series last year because this was done 1 year ago, and I was doing the series. It was really tricky for me because I was going from the series to the film, and it was complicated. So it's for Amazon Prime, and it's going to be released in April. And it's the following story of L'Auberge Espagnole and Russian Dolls and Chinese Puzzle. And I made 3 films with the same actors. And it's about the children of Romain Duris and Kelly Riley.
And I feel old now. Like,
right,
what? They've got children?
Yeah, I can see, yeah. So they're 22 and 26 years old, and they live in Athens, and so the story continues. Yeah.
That's so exciting. What's that called?
It's called a Greek salad. Yeah.
I like it. I'll order two. A new series from Cédric Klapisch. There's news for you, ladies and gentlemen. We bring you the news. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a fantastic evening of dance and film and questions. It is late, so I'm going to let Robinson go because he's got to be in Stockholm dancing, and we can all go home. But please, will you thank Cédric Klapisch, Robinson Cassarino, and of course, Hofesh Shechter. I've been Jason Solomons. Thanks very much for coming. Good night.